What do you picture when you think about being good at World of Warcraft? Or anything for that matter? Is it supreme confidence, perfectly executing your rotation, praise and recognition being showered upon you by all those that see you? Well, what if I told you that it's actually the opposite? That being too sure of your own ability is basically a guarantee that you're bad and you don't even realize it. In this video, I'm going to break down the Dunning-Kruger effect in the WoW player base, look at the hilarious and sometimes tragic ways that it shows up in different players, and most importantly, how understanding this can actually help you get better at the game. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, we need to talk about what actually counts as being good at WoW. For a lot of people, it basically comes down to two things: personal output or personal achievements. So on the output side, we've got things like DPS, HPS, how often you're on top of the meters. On the achievement side, you've got things like your Raider IO score, your raid accomplishments, how far you've pushed in arena for that given season. In this video, we're gonna go a little bit broader. When I say good, I'm talking about your overall skill as a player, which is a mix of a few different things. We've got mechanical skill, which is your ability to execute your rotation, use your defensives properly, use utility, position your character, and just generally respond well to different encounters. We've got game knowledge, so this is understanding abilities and mechanics, knowing each dungeon and raid, understanding maybe some niche tactics in some of these environments, and having a good sense of how different classes interact with one another within these environments. We've got decision making. This is how well you go with making snap decisions on the fly, especially when things get hectic. So this isn't just your ability to memorize your rotation or have knowledge about the places that you are. This is more, how do you respond to things that don't necessarily go to plan? Consistency, which is basically all of the three things I just mentioned, but how often you can actually execute them. Some players will just be able to do this every single time without even breaking stride. For others, you might play like an absolute god every so often and then not so well in between. And then lastly, attitude. Bit of a weird one, but it's honestly pretty crucial. Being willing to look at your own gameplay, spot the mistakes that you make quickly, and then actually care about fixing them instead of just blaming everyone around you. This might feel a little bit redundant, but there's a reason that I'm going over it now. Most players don't actually have a clear idea about what it means to be good, and people are especially bad at judging their own skill. That gap between how good we think we are and how good we actually are is where the Dunning-Kruger effect comes in. Now, I can already hear the sigh. Here's another pseudo-intellectual on YouTube just throwing around pop psychology terms for no reason, but bear with me, there is a reason. For anyone who doesn't know, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a description of the relationship between how skilled someone actually is and how skilled they think they are. Along the bottom, we've got your actual level of knowledge or skill at a task. And then on the side, you've got how confident you feel. Something kind of funny happens though. As players start to improve at something, they watch a guide or they time a key or they maybe hit a certain rating mark for the first time, their confidence will go through the roof. This peaks at the top of what they call Mount Stupid. This is actually what it's called in the theory, which is kind of funny. I think this is where some of the most frustrating and deluded individuals live. This is the random DPS in a +8 who never kicks, barely presses any defensives, has no idea what any of the abilities in the dungeon do. And then the second a key bricks, they go on an absolute tirade about how they're hard stuck and all of their groups suck. This person is supremely confident and also objectively terrible at the game. And then after the peak, if a player actually sticks with the thing, so World of Warcraft or any activity, and actually tries to improve, we then plummet down into the valley of despair. This is where you've learnt enough about a certain thing to understand all of your mistakes, but not quite enough to actually fix them. You start to then notice all of the things that you're doing wrong because you're good enough at that thing to understand what you're doing wrong, but not quite good enough to actually not do it wrong. So this is where you'll start to land and go, I'm actually just horrible at this game. Now, this is kind of uncomfortable, but honestly, it's actually a good thing. From there, it's just a long, slow climb up this slope of growth towards genuinely being good at the game. Most of us are never going to hit absolute expert in World of Warcraft or anything, but we can get closer and closer as we go along. What is kind of interesting and a little bit cursed is that the graph shows that people at the peak of Mount Stupid are often either just as confident or more confident than someone who is a genuine expert. But how does this actually mess us up? Looking back at the graph, there's two stages that we need to be really mindful of: the peak of Mount Stupid and the Valley of Despair. Here are some of the mindset pitfalls that we will fall into that may actually just completely kill our ability to improve because of these two areas. Number one, I'm good, but everyone else sucks. Don't be like this guy, like ever. While it is sometimes true, it's almost never a universal truth. If you catch yourself thinking too regularly that it's other people that are holding you back, it's important to note that you're likely sitting right on the top of Mount Stupid, blissfully unaware of the own shortcomings of your gameplay. Number two, I don't like doing hard content. This is kind of an insidious one, but I actually see it quite a lot. Now, obviously, if you're okay with just doing sort of more casual stuff, that's fine. I'm not telling you that you need to push yourself to the absolute limits all the time. But what will often happen is you'll have a lot of these players who are reasonably good at the game, and then they will hit this sort of threshold, maybe like +12s, +13s in M+, or like sort of like mid-tier Mythic rating or something, and never want to push past that point. Like they flat out refuse to. What is happening here is these people are often sitting somewhere up the top of Mount Stupid, but they're almost aware of it at the time. They don't want to push that little extra bit to go over the edge, because if they do get too much better, they'll start to sink right down into the valley. I even see myself doing this sometimes. I will look at like a key in LFG and immediately go, no, I don't think I'm good enough for that yet. Even though it's objectively a good idea for me to attempt it, it might only be like one key level above the key that I've already done, but I'm almost frightened of the consequences that might come from it. And then thirdly is the head noise. So this happens very often. You have a few bad keys in a row, all of a sudden your mental just crashes into the bin. We start overthinking things, stressing over stuff that doesn't really matter, and before we know it, we're just like turbo bricking keys. The thing here is that the Dunning-Kruger curve is very rarely stagnant. If we make a mistake and doubt starts to creep in, it will make us play a little worse. Then more doubt creeps in, and then we play even worse. And before you know it, you've done an absolute backward slide down into the valley here. Your objective skill at the game is not just something that you level up and then permanently stay at. You can sort of slide up and down, which can be good to note, because if you find yourself sliding down into the bottom, it may not be a reflection of skill. It may be that your confidence is starting to drag you back down there. So this is cool in theory, right? But how do we actually use it to get better? First, just understand that your opinion of your own ability in World of Warcraft, and in anything really, is likely wrong. If you think you're really good at something, chances are you're probably not, and you just don't even know why. If you think you're trash, it's probably a fair assumption that you're actually not that bad, but you're just letting the self-hatred from the bottom of the Valley of Despair to take over you. We can't often change this, but being aware of it will allow us to not get caught up in a spot where we don't want to be. On that note, we want to be analyzing our mistakes. We want to use a program like Warcraft Recorder and watch yourself back after the fact when you've been playing. This isn't an excuse to like berate ourselves for making mistakes. It's more just to understand that there's a big uphill slog between this point of the graph and where we want to go. The only way to get through that uphill slog is to actually identify where the mistakes are and then objectively try to fix them without letting the negative mood of the valley overtake you. You can look for things like, where could I have positioned myself better? Could I have, say, communicated that I was going to use this ability more? Did I need to use a certain utility spell here? If you're the tank, you can go, okay, where did we lose time? Which pull wasn't great? Which pull didn't I gather all that well? If you're the healer, you can look at, say, when you're sending your big healing CDs, were they mismanaged a little bit? These are all objective ways of improving without just sitting there going, I'm trash, I suck at this. And lastly, deliberately play outside your comfort zone. Obviously, if you just want to chill and you make that decision intentionally, then like, fine, that's good. It's okay to set up camp at the top of Mount Stupid permanently if you're aware that you're doing it. There's nothing worse though than a player who never pushes themselves and yet will blindly proclaim that they are great and like, oh, they probably could do it if they tried. Unjustified confidence is legit the worst character trait. If you're on top of Mount Stupid and you want to stay there, just make sure you're doing it on purpose. If not, look for opportunities to do things that are just a little bit harder than what you're normally used to. If you ordinarily go to 3k IO, maybe go to 3.2. If you are in an AOTC team, maybe have a look at raiding the first couple of Mythic bosses. The idea isn't to throw yourself right in the deep end, it's to try and push yourself off the top of the mountain if that's something that you actually want to do. Let me know in the comments where you think you are on the curve right now. I'm probably somewhere around here. I think I've gotten through the Valley of Despair, but honestly, whenever I play Holy Pally, I feel like I'm right down in the dumps. Bit of an offbeat video today. I hope everyone who watched until the end enjoyed the change up. Big thanks to Ghost Splinter and my other channel members for supporting. If you want to sign up, check out the join button below. Otherwise, until next time, gamers, take care.